Gentleman yields, Mr. LaMalfa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to compare the potential, and I know there's a lot of safety that is driving this conversation here, but the comparison, let's say, between highways full of trucks and our railroad system, for example. So work has been done to have a better train control over the years, and I know, why are you talking about trains? Well, because railroads have a dedicated lane, so to speak, that only trains are on, pulling, many, many, many tons, and very efficiently in doing so. But they're having difficulty even keeping the safety record perfect on railroads. If they were to be autonomous versus thousands and thousands of trucks all trying to operate off of the same set of satellites or what have you, how in the world are we going to do that with so many vehicles when we have a certain amount of difficulty right now with a lot fewer on a dedicated lane that doesn't have automobiles, doesn't have a whole lot of people on it, doesn't have trucks with drivers? How do we expect to integrate that many vehicles when it's not been that easy with railroads? So why don't you want to tackle that, Mr. Spear?
Yeah, I think, and I'll give some deference to where the technology stands in terms of differentiating between highways where they're smoother roads, lines painted. The technology functions based off of indicators that allow it to perform at an optimal level. I think country roads, rural environments, to delineate between that, I think that's something that would have to evolve much longer than the testing and deployment that we're seeing today.
No, what I'm asking though is we're talking about, it's difficult enough to keep a safety record going on railroads, which are on dedicated tracks, dedicated lanes, so to speak. And now we're talking about many thousands of vehicles, all trying to operate. How about Mr. Urmson? Would you take a shot at that?
No, thank you for the question. And I think this is one of the places where there's an opportunity where we see to leverage modern technology. So, for example, when our trucks are driving down the road, every second they're evaluating thousands of different parameters to ensure that they're operating at peak performance, whether that's the cycle times for the computation, the health of the sensors, the health of the base platform. And so that level
You're going to have a lot more sensors on a whole freeway system than you already have on, say, lesser miles of railroads with lesser numbers of vehicles, meaning trains. So I'm wondering, how much are you asking for technology to try and move forward with so many independent autonomous vehicles? Yeah, I know truck drivers aren't perfect, but I appreciate them during Truck Driver Appreciation Week. And let me morph this into a rural aspect, as was being touched on here. So do you see this as being primarily something that's being done in urban areas with high volumes of traffic? Because I'm trying to imagine how this is going to work in rural districts like mine, moving mine products or timber products out of the woods onto rural roads, and then meeting larger rural roads and finally interstate, perhaps. Is this going to be adapting well to those conditions?
So again, we don't see this as a big bang deployment all at once. We expect this technology to roll out incrementally, much as Mr. Spear has talked about, to complement other functions or other operators on the roadway. And so we will initially target long-haul trips on interstates. Eventually, I could imagine this technology operating in those environments, but that won't be the initial deployment. And this is how come we have so much confidence that this will be complementary to the skills that our human driving.
Then do you see this as, in the western states, you're frequently going to have, you were talking about weather a minute ago with heavy snows, rains, lots of rain in the high country. And since so much of the West is on fire, so much of the summer and the fall, how about smoke? I mean, how is that going to interfere with the technology you're speaking of?
No, thank you for the question. And again, here, one of the things I can say is our company was founded in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's a part of the nation that has all 4 seasons. And so even in the first year that we were developing the technology, we were out in a parking lot testing in snow. Once again, we're able to constrain the technology. So if the weather is so inclement that it shouldn't operate, then it won't. But the technology, the sensors.
Then we're going to have a backup plan to have available drivers that can operate these autonomous vehicles. It's already difficult enough to have these drivers with so many, the regulations and many other challenges. So we shouldn't run too headlong, too fast into this autonomous situation, which I don't know if it's really seeking a solution to a problem that isn't as huge as would be sold to us. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back. Thank you.
Gentleman yields.